Kim Taehyung, a young charming man in his mid-twenties who has a deep fascination with antique items. He has a particular interest in rare and unique dolls. He is gorgeous and determined, but also curious to a fault. Vian, Taehyung's sportive and pragmatic girlfriend who often helps him with his collection. She is skeptical about his fascination with dolls but loves him dearly. Mrs. Chui, an elderly woman who owns his antique shop in a remote part of town. She is mysterious and seems to know more than she lets on. The doll, Lila, an antique precious doll with a hunting beauty. The doll has a dark history and is possessed by a malevolent spirit. The sun was setting, casting on a lurid glow over the old town. Kim Taehyung and his girlfriend Ryan walked hand in hand through the narrow streets, the cobblestone beneath their feet echoing softly with each step. Are you sure this is a place? Ryan asked, glancing round nervously. Yes, Mr. Chui Antique Shop. She has the rare door I have been looking for, Taehyung replied, excitement evident in his voice. They approached a small, dimly lit shop at the end of the street. The sign above the door read Joy Antiques. Taehyung pushed the creaky door open and they stepped inside. The show was filled with various antiques, from old furniture to vintage jewelry, but what caught the young's eye was the array of dolls displayed on a dusty shelf. Welcome, an elder voice greeted them. Mr. Chui emerged from the shadows, her wrinkled face breaking into a annoying smile. You must be the young. Yes, that's me, he responded, slightly taken aback. I am here to see the doll you mentioned. Mr. Chui nodded and gestured for them to follow her. She led them to a back room where a single doll sat on a pedestal, encased in a glass box. The doll was exquisite, with porcelain skin, curly blonde hair, and piercing blue eyes. It wore a delicate white dress with lace trimmings. This is Lila, Mrs. Joy said softly. She is very special. She is beautiful, he whispered, unable to take his eyes off the doll. She has a dark history, Mrs. Joy continued. Lila is said to be possessed by the spirit of a vengeful woman. She brings misfortune to those who own her. Ryan shuddered. I don't like the sound of that. The youngs, maybe we should leave her here. Nonsense, the youngs replied. His crusty piqued even more. I want her. Mrs. Chui gave him a long, hard look before nodding. Very well, but we want. She's not a mere doll. That night, the youngs placed Lila in his collection room, admiring her beauty. Vian watched from the doorway, her unease growing. Taehyung, are you sure about this? She asked. Yes, Vian, she is just a doll. Taehyung, he assured her. Let's go. Let's get some sleep. As they slept, the house grew earlier quiet. The temperature dropped, and a chilled breeze swept through the rooms. In the darkness, Lila's eyes seemed to glint with a malevolent light. The next morning, the Youngs woke up to find his collection room in disarray. Dolls were shattered across the floor. Dolls were scattered across the floor, and Lila's glass case was shattered. She was nowhere to be seen. Vian, come here, he shouted. Vian rushed in, gasping at the sight. What happened here? I don't know. Lila is gone, Taehyung said, a sense of dread creeping in. They searched the house but found no trace of a doll. As night fell, the atmosphere grew even more oppressive. The lights flickered and strange noises echoed through the halls. Do you hear that? Ryan whispered, clutching Taehyung's arm. Yeah, it's coming from the basement, he replied, grabbing a flashlight. They descended the creaky stairs, the air growing colder with each step. At the bottom, they found Lila sitting on an old dusty chair, her head tilted to one side, eyes glinting in the flashlight's beam. How did she get here? Ryan asked, her voice trembling. I don't know, but we need to get rid of her. The young man reached for the door. As he touched Dila, a cold electric shock surged through him, and he fell back, gasping for air. The doll's eyes seemed to follow his every movement, and a sinister smile appeared on her face. Taehyung, we need to leave, Ryan cried, pulling him to his feet. No, we need to end this, he said, determined. We need to find out how to break the curse. They returned to Mrs. Chui's shop the next day, desperate for answer. The old woman looked at them with sad eyes. I want you, she said softly. Lila's spirit is powerful to break the curse. You must burn the doll and scatter the ashes in a places scared to you. Where can we do that? Vine asked. There's an old shrine in the forest just outside of town, Mrs. Chui replied. But be careful, the spirit will not let go easily. That night, the youngs and Vian took Lila to the shrine. The forest was dark and foreboding, the trees casting long shadows under the moonlight. They lit a small fire and placed Lila in the flames. As the flames licked at the precious, Lila's eyes seemed to glow brighter and an unearthly scream filled the air. Taehyung, what is that? Taehyung shouted over the noise. It's the spirit. We have to stay strong, Taehyung's yellow back, his eyes never leaving the burning doll. The doll swarm twisted and cracked in the heat, and the screams grew louder, more desperate. The air around that seemed to shimmer with a dark energy, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Suddenly, the fire flared up, and Lilar's porcelain body shattered into a thousand pieces. The scream cut off abruptly, and the eerie silence fell over the forest. Is it over? Vine asked, her voice barely a whisper. I think so, the Hyangs replied, his body relaxing for the first time that night. He scooped up the ashes, careful not to leave a single piece behind. We need to scatter these at the shrine. They approached the ancient shrine, a sense of peace sitting over them as they scattered Lila's ashes. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the forest seemed to breathe a sign of relief. Back at home, the young Zambian felt an overwhelming sense of calm. The house was warm and inviting as the eerie noises were gone. Do you think it's really over? Ryan asked, leaning against the Hyang. Yes, I think we have finally broke the curse, he replied, wrapping his arm around her. Thank you for standing by me through all of this. Always, Ryan said with a smile. Just promise me one thing, anything, no more creepy dolls. Taehyung laughed, a sound that felt like sunlight over a long storm. I promise. As they settled into bed, the horrors of the past days seemed like a distant nightmare. But on the shelf in the collection rooms, a teeny, almost imperceptible cracks appeared on one of the remaining dolls' faces. And in the silence of the night, if one listened closely, there was a faint, airy whisper.